it's Wes, and today we're here to talk about the new Viltrox 22.8. So this lens doesn't look anything like Viltrox's other offerings. If we take a quick look here, we can compare to the existing, probably the closest one here is the 24 1.8. This one's an all metal design, whereas this one is all plastic. A little bit heavier, a little bit lighter. And some of Viltrox's newer lenses, we have the 16 1.8, significantly larger, and with the 75 1.2, which is an APS-C lens, also very large lens. And of course, the OG, the 85 1.8. And so this is something new for Viltrox, something lightweight and lower cost. So how does it stack up? Let's find out, starting with the build quality. As I mentioned, this is an all plastic design. Well, except for the bayonet on the back, which is probably aluminum. And on the back you can see we have a USB-C port for firmware updates. I've already updated this one to the latest firmware. There is no O-ring on the back. This is not a weather-sealed lens. We have a plastic lens hood that snaps on with just, there's almost no snap at all. It just barely gets on there. So that's probably going to rotate pretty easily. The focus ring here is just plastic, kind of textured plastic. Doesn't sound great, doesn't feel great. We have no buttons, no switches. Good fit and finish though. It doesn't feel like it was poorly made or anything, so I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10 for build quality. This video is brought to you by Dossier and their holiday sale. I thought the sales were over with Black Friday and Cyber Monday, but I guess not. They're building up to their holiday events, and so you can still stock up, you can still buy gifts for Christmas if you get in quick. There are lots of things to choose from. Why are we talking about scents here? Well, I don't want to take sponsorships from camera manufacturers, lens manufacturers, so here we are with Dossier. I have had a lot of colognes in the past because I like to smell good when I'm at events, when I'm at weddings, getting in real tight with clients and customers. You don't want to be gross. And so a lot of the time when I get in there and I'm taking those close-up pictures and leaning over people, they're like, hey, you smell nice. And then people don't mind being near you. So my favorite scents right now would be Ambery Mint, which is a nice evening and winter scent, and Woody Tobacco, the same. This is kind of a thicker, richer tone. This one's a little sharper and clearer. And then more for something summery, if it were to actually get warm outside, which it is definitely not right now. Woody Sage is nice. It's a little bit floral and light and warm. You can use my code WES5 to get a discount at checkout and let them know where you came from. You could spend hundreds of dollars on designer scents, or you can get these very economical packaging, nothing fancy except for these magnetic closures, which I thoroughly enjoy. Unfortunately, this doesn't stick to this lens because it is made of plastic. So when I'm going for a long event, I'm always tossing something in my bag, just in case things are getting long in the tooth and I need to up my game in the middle of the shoot. Next up is handling and usability. The biggest win for handling here, of course, is that it is very lightweight. It kind of disappears onto a full-frame camera. So let's take this camera here, remove the 85mm lens, and we snap on this cute little 22.8. Depending on your preferences, this could be a great street photography focal length. And as you can see, it fits very nicely on a Sony E-mount body. There's no rubber on the focus ring, so it's a little bit slippery. There are no buttons, there's no AF/MF switch on here. Good fit and finish, and it feels great on the camera, but we are missing some of the easy peasy features that we're used to getting on some lenses. So this is back to the basics. So we've got plus for lightweight, negative for missing any other features. So we're gonna give this an 8.5 out of 10. Image quality, and this is where it matters. How does this stack up? Well, it is reasonably sharp, even wide open. When you stop it down, it only gets a tiny bit sharper. We have some vignetting going on. Of course, it's a wide-angle lens, and it's not gigantic, so that will tend to happen. We see very little chromatic aberration, but that's not a big surprise because this is A, a wider angle lens, and B, not a wider aperture lens. Still, good to see it. Flare resistance, is good, not great. It does wash out and lose contrast pretty easily in backlit situations. Again, this is a good, not great. It's going to be 7.5 out of 10 for image quality. Now, image character. Can we have a little fun with this lens? Well, let's have a look at our cat's eye bokeh test. And if we look closely at these images, we will see that in the center, for some reason, the bokeh isn't even round. It has these hexagonal shapes, and whatever 7 is, septagonal. And then when we go to the edge, it becomes D-shaped, so it's never truly round, which is a bit disappointing. Then as we stop it down, obviously it's not going to get any rounder as you stop it down. Now, this isn't a huge issue because at 22.8, you're not going to have a lot of bokeh most of the time, but when you do have it, it can be a little busy and nervous. Now, when we talk about flaring and general effects like that, it looks okay, but not amazing. The sun stars, again, they're interesting, but not great. There's not a lot of definition there. Color reproduction is good, but not great. Not as good as some of their latest lenses. And so I'm gonna have to give this a 6.5 out of 10 for image character. There is no real wow factor going on here. Focus performance. This lens, for video, focuses smoothly and confidently. And for photo, it is pretty snappy, not the snappiest, but it is accurate and will get you very good critical focus in most scenarios. If you are backlit, you're going to have some trouble. When I was shooting my model at sunset here, I would say it was 50-50 whether or not I got her face in focus, which is frustrating. But the funny thing is, even in low light, this has confident autofocus. It's just in that backlit situation that things start to break down. And then something that we see with a lot of third-party lenses, the autofocus does not work well outside of the center third of the frame. And so if you go beyond that, IAF and all that stuff is not very reliable. Which is funny because it is incredibly reliable in that center frame, but once you leave there, it's not great. It makes me wonder if this was originally conceived of as an APS-C lens and then they bumped it up to a full frame lens. I'm not sure. When you're using manual focus, this works great because it is sharp enough for focus peaking right across the board from wide open to stop to down, so that's no issue there. Your mileage may vary there, but autofocus, I'm gonna give this a 7 out of 10. When it works great, but there are some scenarios where it just doesn't. Value, and that is where we're expecting something good here. This is a Plastic Fantastic lens. How does it stack up? Well, this is $160. What? This lens, the Viltrox 24 1.8, is $380. We are looking at less than half the price. Let's compare it to what else we have. The most direct comparison would be the Tamron 22.8, which is $300, still twice as much money. We also have the Rokinon 18 2.8 for $400, the Sony 24 2.8 for $550, and probably what a lot of people would be considered one of the greatest lenses Sony has made, the 21.8G, is $800. This is suddenly looking a lot more attractive. So all those compromises that we mentioned earlier, there is a great reason for those, and it is you are saving a ton of money. This is a 10 out of 10 easy for value. That's all going to stack up to a 77.5% in total. And if we have a look at the West Scores spreadsheet, we see this lands around the middle of the pack. If you want to check out the West Scores, there'll be a link down in the description below so you can have a closer look at that. Who is this lens for? Well, number one, if you are a newer photographer and you just want this focal length, this is a safe bet as long as you're aware of the possible compromises. Number 2, if you are a street photographer or say you're traveling or something and you want something lightweight and not crazy expensive in case something gets stolen, this is also a phenomenal lens. This is going to get you decent image quality at $160 with autofocus. That is incredible. So, although there are some clear compromises, this is an easy buy. If you want to pick up one of these lenses, there are going to be links down in the description below to help support this channel and feed my fat cats. So, until next time, let's go take some photos.